Well, Asmir, thank you for making time to see us. We've just come off a brilliant result in Bristol, and you've just been training this morning. How's that been going?
Yeah, it's been going good. Obviously, always nicer after a win. So, yeah, it's obviously been a good day of work, and we changed the page and focused on the next challenge, which is Rotherham for us this weekend.
Absolutely. I think it's the same for fans and players. You know, that week after a win, you can
it's
relax and enjoy
better.
it.
Yeah, it's much better, but we've still got a lot of work to do.
Absolutely. So before we start talking about football versus homophobia and Rainbow Rangers, I wondered if it'd be good just to hear a little bit about Asmir Begovic, the person.
Okay.
I don't know how much QPR fans will know about kind of your life pre-football. You know, growing up in Bosnia and moving to Germany and Canada. I don't know if you're happy to talk a little bit about.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think I've done a couple of pieces with the club, so hopefully the fans have been listening. We never know. I've got quite an interesting life story. Obviously, I was born in Bosnia in 1987, and soon after that, conflict broke out, and my family and I were forced to flee Bosnia, and we sought shelter. We sought obviously a new home, a new beginning, new country, and for us, we were lucky that Germany opened the doors to us, and we were able to restart our lives there as a family, which was really a big challenge at the time. I was 4 years old. I don't remember much of it, of course, but I think, as you get older and as you become a parent yourself, and you realize obviously the responsibility of my parents and stuff like that. So we lived 6 years in Germany, then we went to Canada, spent a few years there, and then in 2003 I was given the opportunity to come to England, and in 2004 I was here permanently, playing football. So 20 odd years. So it's been a very eventful life, a lot of experiences, a lot of turmoil, a lot of things, but it's my journey and it's something I've been on, and I wouldn't change it for the world.
Absolutely. And do you think those kind of early challenges shaped you, not just as a player, but as a person? Like obviously we're talking about inclusion and people maybe feeling different and finding where they fit in the world. Did you have similar experiences trying to find your place?
Yeah, again, I think it was much easier at first when I was younger, because you just go with it, and your parents take a lot of the responsibility, and I think all of these experiences have massively shaped me as a person more than anything. The resilience, understanding how to be adaptable, adjust to new environments, new people, new cultures, and all this kind of thing, new languages, everything. So it was definitely a challenge, but like I said, it forms you. It's part of who you are, and it's part of the person you become later on in life. And like I said, those challenges, those experiences, I think have strengthened me. Obviously created a lot of resilience, seeing that you can overcome some tough moments and they don't last forever. So like I said, I wouldn't change any of these experiences, and I learned a lot from those.
Brilliant. So February marks LGBT History Month, also the Football versus Homophobia month of action. So that's kind of a big moment for fans group like Rainbow Rangers. I'm interested in how aware players are of these kind of campaigns. Do these make it through to kind of the senior level players as well?
Well, I think they certainly do. I think it's definitely a lot more now than they used to. I mean, I remember talking about coming to England 20 years ago and being part of a first team environment in a football club, and I don't think we did a good enough job of raising and including everyone, and just kind of raising the awareness for all these different causes. And I think we do a much better job now with the governing bodies and people in the game about having these conversations and making sure that we're really aware of these things, educated on these types of scenarios, these types of actions and everything. And I think we do a much better job now. So I think players are a lot more aware, which is great. I think players are a lot more open-minded now and can take on information. I think before, the first team dressing room and everything was a very closed-off place, where I think now it's a lot more open. Football clubs are a lot more open to everything, and it's good to bring on new information on board.
And are those, just kind of thinking about the dressing room now, 2024, are these kind of conversations happening naturally, not just about LGBT inclusion, but racism in football as well? Is this a hot topic?
It certainly is. I mean, everything now is shown, right? You see what's happening in other countries, you see what's happening in this country, what's happening in other games. Obviously the coverage now is massive. So, there are talking points, whether it's something that happens recently in the past, or you read in the paper, watching the news, on sports news. So I think all of these events and things that are happening around the world, and obviously actions and the things that we can be a part of, it's been great. And I think one of the biggest things that's really grown over the last few years, and something I know I've had a few conversations with the governing bodies, is that we can use our profile, and I think our stage in a really good way of obviously helping and support different causes and different people, and try and do it equally, right? I'm not more than the other. I think just trying to be really fair in how we approach these things and how we balance everything out, and how we share the coverage. So I think it's something that's been growing. I think it's going really in the right direction, and I think we do a good job. But of course, there's always more room for growth.
Absolutely. And are you, I mean, it sounds like you are, but as a senior elite level player, are you?
Yeah, a little bit senior, yeah. Don't tell anyone. But
You're less senior than I am, don't worry. Like, are you aware of, even a little, wearing this rainbow badge now, it might seem like a small gesture, but to, a fan watching, like, are you aware of the huge impact that can have on young fans and people who look up to you?
I think we're aware, but I don't think we sometimes understand the power that we do have. And I've been a massive advocate. One of the things that I don't take for granted is obviously the stage and the profile that we have, and I think the way we can use it. I've done charitable things before or helped causes before, and the reaction sometimes is quite overwhelming, which is great. We underestimate, I think, the power of football, the power of sport, us as individuals, as football clubs. The massive pull we have in a community. So I think because we're so always focused on the day-to-day and the job that we have and the games and the pressures, but actually there's a lot more going on around that. And that sort of awareness is growing all the time. And I think players understanding their roles and their platforms a lot better than they used to.
And does that bring a different pressure to you guys as well?
I wouldn't say it does bring a different pressure. I think for us it's more of a humbling honor, really. I think if we can help, and I think if we can include people, share any messages, then for us it's awesome. We know as a club, especially here at QPR, it's been great. I think most home games we've sort of warmed up in different T-shirts and helped different causes. I think that's pretty cool. Those are really nice things you can do, and those images kind of stick forever, really. And of course, in that moment, that particular weekend, it's great. But I think they can last after that. So I wouldn't say it's a pressure. I think again, from a human being point of view, I think we're all normal human beings. We want to try and help each other and be supportive of each other. So I don't think we try and put too much pressure on these things.
Brilliant. And then just going back to, we talked a little bit about high-profile incidents that have happened recently. We've seen some quite shocking racist incidents in stadiums. We've seen some big clubs fined for homophobic chanting. Like when you're on the pitch playing a game, maybe you've not experienced those things yourself, but how do those on-pitch incidents impact you kind of during a game?
Yeah, I mean, I've been part of it, unfortunately. It's still all of these things you talk about, the discrimination, the abuse, it's still there. It's still within the game. I think it's within sport. Social media at times doesn't help, the access they can have to players and people. So it does unfortunately exist, and I think the fact is we understand that. I think we have to understand that still exists, and we don't like it, of course, if it happens, and we have to act on it. I think the governing bodies are doing a much better job of really clamping down on these things and punishing the people that need to be punished, and obviously go from there. So for us as players, it's difficult. We are always so focused on our job and what we need to do. So sometimes we forget about the bigger picture and what it's doing and how maybe uncomfortable it can be. But those are difficult situations. But I think the most important thing is the education increases, the awareness increases, and I think for us, all collectively, we have a responsibility to try and do better and continue that improvement.
Absolutely. And you touched a little bit already on kind of how the dressing room has changed since you started playing. Can you talk a little bit more about maybe how players interact and maybe things that might have been said or experienced previously, how that's kind of developed and changed?
Well, I think changing rooms now are more international than ever. I think that's probably what's really changed in the last 20 years. I remember coming thinking the first very, very British, that's the way it is. But now the game's grown. I mean, we've got players from all different types of countries and backgrounds, and I think that's what's really great. I think the changing room is such a cool place. The relationships and bonds you build with players is incredible, and I think we go to battle. We play every single week together and support each other like brothers. And the fact is, you're doing it with guys now from all over the world, from so many different countries and different backgrounds. I think it's a really cool thing to do, and you get to learn about their cultures, their backgrounds, things they've been through, their country, whatever it may be. So it's actually grown to be a much more wider place than it used to be.
Brilliant. And you've played in a few different countries as well. Obviously, most of your career has been here, but you've been Italy, Azerbaijan. What are the differences between kind of that UK changing room then and those other countries, or is it actually really similar now?
Well, I think now that the game's become so global, it's probably a lot more similar. You know, when I went to Azerbaijan, you know, my roommate was Brazilian, you know, and you know, we're communicating in English and things like that. So football brings you together, which is really, really cool. And I think going to Italy as well, we had lots of different types of different players from different backgrounds, different countries. So I think the game now is becoming more global. What I've always loved about playing abroad and experiencing these things, just seeing the different culture and different people and making relationships that will last. You know, I went to Karabakh, I think, good 5 years ago now, and still speak to people there and follow them, and they follow me, and they send messages. So those sort of relationships are really what it's all about. And I think having been in the game, professional game, for almost 20 years, that's kind of what you count on and cherish as you get on is the relationships you build with these people and these clubs.
Brilliant. And you said kind of the atmosphere in dressing rooms is very different and much better now. Are there any instances that you can recall from your career where maybe you've had to challenge someone or call someone out for their behaviour?
No, I think, you know, dressing rooms for us, I think in football clubs, it's always been a really safe place. You know, I've only called people out on football things, nothing out of that. But actually, from a human being point of view and everything, it's been a very, very good place. I think there can be odd instances. I mean, not that I've been a part of, but other ones where you get they get heavily publicized, and they give you some bad name. But actually, footballers, you know, we do care, and I think the clubs do a great job of including everyone. And especially now, I think in the modern day, if we look at the men's teams and the academies and the women's teams and the girls' teams, so you're all kind of training in the same base, same place as much as possible, especially at some of the bigger clubs where they have the space and the facilities. So that's really great. That never used to be the case. So now that we can all be together, we're all one, I think it's a really cool thing. So I think dressing rooms have always been a pretty safe place, and, you know, I think a good place where people can really feel comfortable.
Brill. So, I mean, obviously I guess the big taboo in men's football still is there's no out high-profile players. We've seen some players start to come out. Jake Daniels, obviously a young player at Blackpool, Josh Cavallo in Australia, Jakob Jankto playing at Cagliari, and Xander Murray up in Scotland. If a player did feel comfortable and did want to come out at QPR, it sounds like the dressing room would be very welcoming and accepting of that.
Very much so. Like I said, we have, you know, players of all different backgrounds and countries and skin color and everything. And for us, like I said, everyone's treated equally. Everyone's treated the same. It's the way it has to be, the way it should be. Like I said, you know, people need to feel comfortable in their place of work, no matter what the case is. And, you know, we'd support that in any way, shape, or form. So for us as a team, you know, if we can be all on the same page, collective, helping each other and be supportive, then obviously we can be successful and be good human beings, support each other and friends, and build those great relationships over the years.
Brilliant. And at a professional club like QPR, what kind of support networks are there behind the scenes that maybe fans won't see for players, kind of to do with your mental health? Or?
Yeah, well, I mean, as most clubs now, I think, you know, having been at QPR, Everton the last couple of years, you know, we have a really good support system. Obviously, you always have your coach. We have player liaisons who do that. We have obviously the Players Association, the PFA. So there's three sort of immediate people who can support you in different ways. And the good thing now, and as I said earlier, and having been part of the PFA, for example, is a lot more information is available to players. You know, they do regular visits. You meet with people. You get emails now. You obviously get magazines. You get leaflets. So players now have a lot less of an excuse to have, you know, to understand, okay, I do have this place where I can communicate, I can go to if I need to speak to someone, whereas before maybe that wasn't the case. Players weren't aware. So I think the awareness is growing. We're making the steps in the right direction, and long may continue. There's still, like I said, plenty of room to grow, and, you know, we need to continue to do a better job and make sure everyone knows all their outlets and all the information that they can have.
Brilliant. And a little bit earlier you touched about kind of online experiences as well, and I guess this might be somewhere where we have shared experiences. Running a LGBT fan group online is not always the nicest place to be. You've got you're quite prevalent and out there on social media. I think, like, how do you deal with?
Yeah, I mean, I'll ask you that question back as well, because It's like I said, the sooner you understand that it exists, it's actually quite important, because if you're shocked by, words, abuse, everything, that obviously puts you right on the back foot. It's not right. It's completely wrong. It completely needs to be worked on. But I think you have to almost understand that there could be backlash, and that's kind of what's helped me deal with it, because, again, through having seminars, different things, different information, to say, listen, guys, this is what you could be coming up against. And it's the same as like preparing for an opponent. You know what's coming, so you can't be surprised. Now, how you deal with it is obviously in your control, and obviously then for other people, and then, like I said, the governing bodies, they need to do the best job they can to help and support us in whatever way you need, because it hits people differently, and I think that's important to make people aware of that. So I'll turn the question to you. I mean, how does that make you feel when negative information or messages or whatever comes your way?
Yeah, it's certainly not a nice feeling. I mean, very early on, when I guess I was surprised at first. Maybe I wasn't prepared for it. I feel like what we're doing at Rainbow Rangers isn't controversial. Our message is very much about making football a safe and welcoming space for everyone, which I really struggled to see why anyone would argue or disagree with that. So I think at first I was maybe a little bit taken aback that there might be, and I should point out, it's a very small minority, and I think that was a big help for me, realizing 99% of the people we meet, we talk to, we interact with, support what we're doing, are behind us, are welcoming, and I guess it's about not taking that 1%
100%,
too personally.
Yeah. Exactly. I could agree with that more.
Yeah, the mute and block buttons are well used and
powerful buttons.
Yeah, they are, and I think that's part of it. Some people, you can tell, need to be spoken to and educated, and we're always happy to have those conversations. I think there's some people who are, looking to stir things up. You won't ever be able to necessarily talk to or bring around your way of thinking. And in that case, I guess it's about protecting your own mental health and stepping away.
That's it. I think you talked earlier about being prepared. I think the more we talk about it, the more awareness we can raise and put it out there. And obviously, more people can be prepared and understand what potentially could be out there, and then hopefully that'll help them deal with it.
Absolutely. So just one last question for me. Like, if you had a message you could give to maybe young LGBT fans out there, QPR fans, do you have something you would say to them to kind of sum up Football versus Homophobia Month of Action?
Yeah, I mean, what I would say is make sure you be yourself. You should never ever be negative on yourself or ashamed of anything. Make sure you're proud of who you are and what you want to be. And I think we're all in it together. And for us as a football club, always welcome to the QPR, within the QPR family. We love everyone who supports us and who's with us. So all I would say is be yourself, own it. Make the best of life, and obviously make a positive influence on society, and build great relationships and live the best life you can.
Perfect. Thank you very much.